Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Third String Opinions. I really appreciate it. Welcome to listening to us. I have my boy Jake Wallace on here, your co-host, and I'm your host, David. Jake, what's going on, man?
Tip of the cap, David.
Tip of the cap. Pleasantries to you as well. Do we have a great show for you guys? We actually have a lot of things to discuss in regards to all different sports across the board. I think the only thing we're not talking about today is golf, but that's okay. It's a off week to begin with.
Yeah.
But we do have to look forward to NBA Finals, some college football weeks, some football, some NFL, and baseball playoff starts. So, Jake, you ready to dive into it?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Let's get after it.
All right, let's cannonball right into the deep end here, David. It is the best time of year. It is playoffs for baseball, baby. We are here.
Playoffs.
Playoffs?
Playoffs.
We didn't think we were going to get here, but we're here, baby. And, stage is set. We've got all the matchups are set. We are recording on a Tuesday at about 6:30 in the evening, so some of the games have already begun. But let's dive in. Let's see the series set. As most people know, you got Milwaukee with the Dodgers, the Reds with the Braves, the Cubs with the Marlins, the Padres with the Cardinals, and that's your NL slate. AL slate, you got the Blue Jays with the Rays. You've got the A's with the Chi Sox. You've got the Twins with the Astros, and you got the Tribe with the Pinstripes. What do you got, David? What are you thinking? I know, actually, first, again, some of the games have already ended. I feel like I need to give you a congratulations as your Chi Sox won their first game already. Congratulations to you, sir.
I appreciate that. For those listening, that would be probably the first playoff win the White Sox have in the last 10 years. So I take that. I was kind of teary-eyed watching my team take a victory lap around the field, but it's one game, best of three.
And a awesome outing, nonetheless. Giolito goes, I think, 7 innings of perfect game ball.
Lost in the eighth, but it's okay.
Let's just jump right into that series. You got to be feeling good about that.
I do. First and foremost, it's just really exciting to have October baseball right around the corner. I know it's September 29th right now, but still, we're about to dive into October.
It's October.
I mean, once playoffs start, it's October.
It's October.
So, everyone's amped for this. We do have a little bit different of an expanded playoffs, but as a whole, excited to see. We already have some great matchups to begin with and some pitching duels starting across the league. But yeah, the White Sox A's, I'm excited about it. I'm happy with how we played. I do know that really after Dallas Keuchel, we have some hit or miss on pitching. So hopefully, as it's a best of 3 series, we just get that win tomorrow and call it a day.
Yeah.
But the White Sox as a whole called out the Astros manager for pitching a lefty against the White Sox, and the White Sox are 14-0, now 15-0 this season against left-handers. So they called him out. Tim Anderson very, very vocal about that, and sure enough, Tim Anderson went 3 for 4, and we won 4-1.
Not only a lefty, but a future Hall of Famer, Zach Greinke too. So that's a good win. That's a good start to a series where, as you said, it's expanded playoffs. So the first series, or the first round rather, is a little bit different this year. It's only best of 3, which is that's. Oh no, as David just mentioned to me, I said Zach Greinke, but that was the Twins who were playing the Astros. You went up against Jesus Luzardo. That's who it was.
Yeah, that's who won.
Whooped up on him. Yes. There's so many teams in the playoffs. They're all running together. No, but we have it's a 3-game series, which it's kind of weird. It's just because we haven't. It's nothing that we've really seen before. What do you think about that? Are you a fan? I know I've heard a lot of national discussions about it, about whether it's considered, is this the real playoffs yet, or is this just kind of like the NCAA tournament play-in game type of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel the same way towards this as I do about the play-in for hockey, right? I felt that granted now the MLB, they had a full full in quotations because it was only 60 games, but
Right.
they had a full season to play straight. They go into playoffs, and their team's kind of been rolling in their momentum or how hot or cold they are ending the season. So it's a little less kind of just jumping into an important series. It's kind of the way, if you think about MLB on a normal season, that they have one game playoff games. That's why the Braves have always lost those series games like every year for the past 4. They've always lost those ones. I'm not really against it in baseball because they've had a full series, but I do understand the national kind of outrage or impression about it just given it's a short series.
I'm the same way. To me, it feels like playoffs. My mindset is playoffs are here. I'm nervous about them as a fan. It's because it's win or go home. So whether you consider this a participation trophy by extending the playoffs to 16 teams or whatever, so there's some teams that wouldn't have made it otherwise. I don't care. Fact of the matter is, they're here. You lose this series, you don't have an opportunity at the World Series. So to me, that's playoffs.
I think the only negative, at least in baseball, is that you have your aces pitching an extra 8 innings, and in a normal playoff series, the short day's rest. So that kind of impacts you more than maybe other sports where you can get into a flow quicker by playing in a game like this. So I understand maybe a long-term impact, which we'll see. But again, I'm with you. You have to win the series. Yeah, you have to win 2 more games than normal to win a World Series, but you got to do what you got to do.
You make a good point there with, especially this first 3-game series. Normally there's a couple days break in between. They'll play the 2 games at the one city, have an off day for travel, and then play the next. And that works into the favor of the rotation. So teams that have a weak rotation, i.e. the Atlanta Braves, it could be a challenge for teams like that. With that said, what are your thoughts on some of these matchups? Are there any? I'll say this: are there any matchups in which you think that there could be an upset? And I say upset using that term loosely because, granted, everybody made it here. Yes, there are teams clearly better than others. Teams are ranked or are seeded 1 through 8. So I guess an 8 to beat a 1 would, by the term, be an upset. But like,
by every definition is an upset.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean, though. I mean, are there any that you think could be an upset?
I would think the upset, there's 2 upsets, one on each side, and one's actually more of an upset than the other. The first is kind of that team that you and I talked about from the very beginning we started recording this when the season started. The dark horse in the MLB was going to be the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
And the first 3 quarters of the season, they were nowhere to be found. Yep. They were just bottom of the division, and then sure enough, the last 15 games turned on, got to the 7th seed, and now they're playing a Braves team with a ton of offense, but outside of like Max Fried, your pitching staff's not up to par. So I think that's an upset or a series to watch, especially with a 3-game series.
Yeah, that's what scares me is if you don't take the first game, then you're immediately backs up against the wall. Your heels are dug in. You gotta win 2 straight, and that's tough to do in the MLB, anyways. Right. Let alone when you have the implications of a postseason on the line. So
I think the Braves' offense will provide enough firepower to at least get them towards a winning game. It's just going to see what that pitching staff looks like, and while we know the Reds have a pretty solid
for sure
team all the way around. My AL picks would be, it's not an upset technically because of the seedings, but I think if the Yankees lose to the Indians, it's an upset. I just think the hype around the Yankees has been so high. Right now you have Garrett Cole against, oh my God, what's his name? He's Bieber. He won he basically won the Triple Crown. He's going to be the Cy Young winner.
Possible.
You have those 2 going head and head.
MVP winner too.
And MVP winner. Yeah, I can see that as well. I mean, you can't knock that,
right.
But as a whole, the Yankees losing the first round in a best-of-3 series when you just spent $300 million or whatever on Garrett Cole, that's going to be an upset.
I think I agree with both of those on you. I think for the NL, my biggest worry, especially as a Braves fan, but realistic possibility, is the Reds beating the Braves. And then in the AL, I would say the same. I think if the Yankees were to lose to the Indians, it would be a catastrophic failure, because especially for the fact that for the most part the Yankees are healthy, which they hadn't really been all year. So we know what that lineup can do when they are healthy. Now, I think that the Indians are very capable of beating the Yankees. I think it's just that's going to be a series where, and you can say it with all series, but that series in particular, because of the Yankees' offensive firepower, is can the Indians starting pitching hold off for 3 straight games? You know what I mean?
I mean, we're talking about the Indians as if they weren't just in the World Series a couple of years ago and haven't been still building a powerhouse team in the AL Central. So we shouldn't be shocked or surprised by it, but I'm just under the impression that when you're the Yankees and you spend X amount of money and you have all this hype because you are the Yankees, that just is it's a curse of being who you are. You lose in the first round to the Indians, it should be a failure. It should be marked as a failure, and Aaron Boone should be, chastised in the city square because of it.
I completely agree. That would be an unexplainable loss for them. So let's kind of go, I guess, series by series here. Again, some of these games have already taken place, but we'll start in the NL. Do the Brewers upset the Dodgers in any way, shape, or form? Can you see that happening?
No.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that might even be done in 2.
They might be done in 1. The Brewers might not want to come back
out. They might not show up the rest of the way. Cincinnati, Atlanta. I know we've expressed our, possible concerns, but what are you thinking? You thinking that is a real upset?
I think it's 60-40. So I'd say the Braves have a 60% chance to win that series. Cincinnati's just playing hot right now, and I don't trust Atlanta past Max Fried.
That's fair. I think. I don't know. I mean, I know the Braves.
Are you a betting man on this series?
I'm not. I am absolutely not. I'm so not. I want to say, Braves are winning 2, which I hope they do. Options like theirs, they very well could. Gosh, I don't know. I think it's going to go 3 games regardless. To me, it's going to be a couple big swing of the bats. It's going to, just a couple is all it could take to shift the series. My heart is telling me yes, the Braves are good enough to pull this one out. This one really has me worried.
Tongue-tied.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. The next one, the Cubs and the Marlins. The Marlins, who, good for the Marlins for making it into the playoffs, especially having only played like 4 games in the first 2 weeks of the season.
After being the butt of every joke that was around the MLB and was causing the entire season to end.
I believe I even said, who would even care if the Marlins didn't play this season? I believe those are my exact words.
And here they are playing the Cubs.
Foot in the mouth on that one. Yeah, here they are.
I think Cubs are superior. That they have a pitching staff, and Chris Bryant's finally back to healthy. I think it's a Cubs win.
I'm tending to lean towards the Cubs also. I am intrigued by the young pitching that Miami has. They've got some studs over there, and who knows? In a 3-game set, you get hot at the right time, that could be a little upset there too. But I think I'm with you on the Cubs there. The Padres and the Cardinals.
I'm going to go Young Guns. I'm going to go Padres. I haven't watched enough of either of them to really make an educated answer here as to why. I just know that the Padres are playing hot, and I love all their young prospects that they've been building over there. So I'm gonna pick that one. I'd be least confident of my betting would be on San Diego versus St. Louis, just because I'm not paying attention enough.
I'm going with you on that one too. I'm gonna go with San Diego. However, something about that Cardinals organization, it doesn't matter year in and year out, that they always seem to be peaking right at the time of the postseason. And I'm picking the Padres with the thought that I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if the Cardinals end up pulling out that series.
Makes sense.
AL, Toronto and Tampa Bay. Their game is actually currently on. It's the bottom of the 5th. Tampa Bay is up 1-0. Tampa Bay being the number 1 seed in the AL. Who you liking on this one?
You know, we've mentioned the Rays a couple times already, but the Blue Jays did make a nice, I guess, push there in the middle of the season to take over. I don't know. Rays. I'll go Rays. I'll
gotta go Rays.
1-8 upsets hard. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I won't
going
go
Rays.
against that.
Going Rays. Oakland, Chicago. It's tough to pick this one because you already got the one game lead. I'm going Chi Sox the whole way here, man.
I think Chi Sox should have been the 1 seed if they didn't take the foot off the gas. So yeah, Chi Sox.
They're the 7th seed. How you say they should have been the 1
They
seed?
they lost out of the last 12 games. They lost 10 of them. Like that.
Wow, the 1 seed didn't lose 10 of their last.
I don't want to talk about it.
They didn't even win their division.
I know, they got 3rd.
They should have been the A++ seed.
That would have been. This is the exact reason why the extended playoffs works, because the number 7th seed got in. It was a 3rd.
No doubt. No kidding. That's crazy in itself. That as well as the White Sox have been playing all year, and who could make a postseason run in any other time would barely have, gotten in.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Houston. Houston took a 1-0 series lead on that one. I'm still
going Twins.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I am too. But again, 2 in a row. That's going to be tough to do.
They don't have Verlander's out with
right.
Tommy John, so their number 2 is their number 1. I guess is gone. So Greinke had kind of pitched as the ace role. Minnesota has plenty of bats to keep hitting. This is my main issue with the way this is working, though, is that if the White Sox win and the Twins win, they play each other. I've seen the White Sox and Twins play 10 times this season. You think I want to sit there and watch that? Like, I'm excited I'm playing the A's because I get to see someone else so I don't watch.
Right.
Like, now I got to sit there and hope my season continues by playing a team we've already played 10 times that we know in and out.
True. That's true.
Like, it's just, it's going to be whatever. Not gonna harp on it.
Jeez. Somebody's a little salty about it.
The wine hasn't kicked in yet.
The Indians and the Yankees, I think we kind of touched on this one. I'm going with the Indians. I think the Indians are going to do the quote-unquote upset, though the seeding doesn't say that. I think the Indians are going to pull out the series.
I think they're a series to watch. I still think the Yankees pull this out, but I think
Game 1 between Shane Bieber and Garrett Cole is going to be electric. I mean, there's going to be 25 strikeouts in the game or something like that.
Bieber has ERA, strikeouts, and wins, and then Garrett Cole is 3rd in almost all those categories. So those guys there's not going to be any offense here. I mean, it's going to take one pitcher misplacing one pitch that's going to be the difference maker in this game.
Yep. So that covers the series. If we were to just right now, playoffs started, who are your World Series picks without thinking too much into it? Gun to the head, ready, set, go.
Dodgers, White Sox.
Ooh, okay. For me, I'm going to go Dodgers, Minnesota.
Ooh, you asshole. I'm not going to explain why. I'm going to leave that for a later podcast. And with that, I'm not going to even allow you to try to question me with baseball anymore because I'm going to make my pick and stick to it. I'm going to focus on the other sport. Now we're talking about championship games. Let's go to NBA if you don't mind. And the finals are finally set. We are getting ready to see the Miami Heat and the LA Lakers. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Lakers went up against Denver Nuggets when we wanted them to go up against the Clippers, but kudos to the Nuggets for making it that far. And again, going down 3-1 in another series, but couldn't pull this one out. Yep. Heat just imposed their will on the Celtics, even though I said in previous podcasts the Celtics were a superior team on paper.
I totally agree.
What do you think? Is LeBron getting his 4th ring, or is Jimmy Butler going to put the clamps down?
Man, Miami, I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think the two teams match up well with one another. I'm very, very excited to watch Jimmy Butler face off against LeBron head to head. I think that's going to be electric. I've said this before, LeBron just has that look. I think he knows that he knows, or maybe even feels, that this will even just solidify his legacy even more. I know you love hearing me say that, but I just do. I think that the Lakers, while I do think the Lakers have a lot of holes that even the Nuggets exposed a little bit, if
LeBron covers those up,
if LeBron covers them, and then even two other guys in the team have a good series, the Lakers are gonna take it. But I think it's gonna go at least 6.
At least 6. That's good. Okay, that'll be a good series. At least 6. I'll hope for that as well. I feel like at the end of the day, you should probably have your money on the Lakers. If you just look at their team as a whole, they have key role players who are experienced, not in maybe a deep playoff run, but just overall experienced compared to the Heat, who are riding and dying with their 3 draft picks from the 2019 draft. It's I don't know.
I mean, this has a lot of great storylines to it. You've got Jimmy Butler, who's been the cast out of many teams, saying that he was never the guy able to do it. You've got Anthony Davis looking to get his first championship as one of the best players in the game. You've got Eric Spoelstra, who's a fantastic coach, trying to prove that his championships weren't a fluke just because he had the big 3. And then you've got LeBron trying to win his 4th championship with his 3rd team. I mean, it's got storylines all over it. What's your favorite?
If I was to look at on paper how this series would match up, I would sit there and be like, okay, you have X player averaging this player when he guards this player holds him to this amount. The reason why I thought the Clippers playing the Lakers would be such a good series because you had 4 very good defenders on the Clippers, 2 of which have proven to slow down LeBron in a playoff series. Now the Heat, on the other hand, maybe don't have the Paul George, Kawhi Leonards, and Montrezl Harrell of defense, but they have Jimmy Butler, Andre Iguodala, and Jay Crowder, who are all 3 very good defenders. 2 of them have guarded LeBron multiple times in playoff situations. And then you have Bam Adebayo guarding the rim, who can match up with Anthony Davis. Part of me really wants to just continue my dumb ass stance of going against LeBron every series he goes up against because of that. But then you also look at LeBron should have been locked down by X, Y, and Z. But no, he finds a way to win. I think the biggest storyline would be LeBron winning a 4th championship because he took a team that he was on last year from 10th. Granted, they added Anthony Davis, but 10th last year in the West. Best record in the West this year. This is a year where we lost Kobe Bryant, that this would mean so much more to LA fan base and the NBA community as a whole. I just feel like the storyline of Lakers taking home a championship would be the one to follow.
I think so too. And I have to ask this to you in particular, what does this do for LeBron's legacy, if anything? Or
if he loses, it's people are going to pile on him and call him out for having Anthony Davis not being able to take it off. If he wins, people are going to say he's arguably the best player. I don't think it really changes much. People are going to hate LeBron. Whoever hates LeBron hates LeBron. Yeah. Whoever loves LeBron loves LeBron. I think at the end of the day, if he gets 4 championships, it's a hard battle for number 2. I still think Michael Jordan, in our generation, in our era, everyone still says Bill Russell should be the number 1. I know Isaiah Thomas took a dig at Michael Jordan saying that Bill Russell's a GOAT. At the end of the day, 90% of the world thinks Michael Jordan is, so we'll go with that ranking. Jordan's 1. I think right now Kobe's 2. 5 rings, stayed with the Lakers his entire time, weathered however many issues. Granted, he did have a great supporting cast that they traded for. And then LeBron 3. But if LeBron wins this, takes his team and wins it, even with Anthony Davis, that's the same thing as Kobe with Shaq. So why wouldn't I think that
and his
LeBron should be
3 different cities? It's just impressive. He wins everywhere he's gone.
I take that as a negative, though, that he's literally gone to every team has been, except for with the Lakers, has been stacked. He went to Miami.
Miami wasn't stacked. They became stacked.
No, the reason why he went there is because all three of them couldn't play together in Chicago. The Bulls only wanted Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
Then they're like, so they had Wade and they got Bosh the same year. I mean, the team itself.
No, they were all free agents.
Stacked.
No, they were all free agents.
I know that they all went to the team. I'm saying the team itself. I'm not saying that they didn't get players that offseason. I'm saying the team itself hadn't been doing much since Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal won in 2006 or whatever it was.
I mean, I don't know what logic you're trying to use, but the idea that in 2010, a team that could have lost its superstar and just had one player with Dwayne Wade gained two other superstars in their prime because they all got together and talked about where they wanted to play together and became then perennial contenders because those three players. Then the second year they add Ray Allen and they knock off the Spurs.
Yeah.
That team was stacked. You cannot say anything about that. Then he leaves and goes to Cleveland, in which Kyrie Irving has emerged as a superstar. Then they trade the first pick in Andrew Wiggins to get Kevin Love, who at the time was a superstar.
Does that Miami team win without LeBron?
No, but that Miami team doesn't win without Dwayne Wade carrying them through the first two games 5 and 6 or 4 and 5 of the Celtics.
That's fine. It was just a question about LeBron, not Dwayne Wade.
No, I think LeBron. I think LeBron is a great player. I don't think LeBron ever wins by himself. LeBron got there in Cleveland.
I think LeBron's best accolade was taking the Cavs in 2004 to the finals with virtually
or the year they lost
on the team.
When they lost to the Warriors when everyone was injured and he carried them to at least a win.
He could have won the series MVP that series even though they lost.
He does things like that really stands out to you and you're like, holy shit, LeBron carries whomever he's with. But every team LeBron wins on, I want you to find me how many other All-Stars, future Hall of Famers are on it when he wins.
You have to, but that's proven. Nobody can win solely on their own, and and that's, I don't know if that's a knock or a charm to LeBron. I just think that's the way that the NBA has been forever. Jordan couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And that's not again knock on Jordan. That's just the way it is.
I think there's a difference in generational play, right? So before it used to be you wanted to beat the best. LeBron has openly, and everyone this year and everyone this generation has openly come out and been like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to recruit. Why wouldn't I want to play with the best person and try to win with them? It used to be, no, we wanted to beat you. I have no desire. I hated you. I have no desire to play with you, right? The Bulls bringing in Dennis Rodman was a big issue because Pippen and Jordan hated Dennis Rodman because he was on Detroit.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Made that happen. It's just at this point in time, we find that recruiting and being friends with people leads to this type of stuff.
Yeah. And that's and you're right. That's just the NBA is so much different now than it was even. And
who knows if you were able to spend all this time with people in the off seasons with other friends and players on the team, could there have been super teams that formed on free agency? Maybe, but teams even the Warriors, everyone hated the Warriors because they got Kevin Durant. I was like, they added one superstar to a team that they drafted every one of these other superstars.
Right.
That they built that team. That one's more legit, I think, than Miami and Cleveland. And then now for the Lakers, I will give LeBron this win as a whole because they did bring in Anthony Davis, but it's just those two. And he went to the Lakers team with no one on that team when he went there, so he knew what he was getting himself into. I just don't. To circle all the way back before I got off my tangent about my hatred for LeBron.
I knew I was poking the bear on that one.
My blood is boiling. It got hot in my room all of a sudden. I don't think his perception changes. I think, again, people are going to hate him who hate him. People love him who love him.
Yeah.
If he wins in the way this season has gone this year, as 2020 as a global year has gone, it's a lot more impactful of a storyline if he wins this than, say, Eric Spoelstra or Jimmy Butler win it.
Agreed. I'm going Lakers in 6.
I want to go Heat in 6, but I'm probably going to pick the Lakers in 6.
Okay, well, there's that.
God, it kills me to say that.
I know it does.
God.
All right, let's hit a quick break, refill our goblets, and we'll jump back into some football.
Let's go. And we're back, everyone, and we're going to jump right into football. We're going to start with college because we, in my opinion, had the first week of college football, as we've had almost every conference that's playing right now play this week. SEC joined the rest of them, so
and
huge week.
Played.
And my team did something. I don't know if it actually played football, but it played. But yeah, so I was able to watch my team play, watch everyone else play some pretty good matchups that took place as well. But overall, huge first big week. We had some upsets already, but I wanted to address something in the very beginning, and we talked about it on our last podcast. But we have Big Ten back, and now, Jake, we have Pac-12.
Yeah, we do. Again, it's not ideal. It's not the full 12-game, 13-game season 14-game season we normally get, but it's something. So Big Ten's coming back at the end of October, and they will be playing an 8-game season. And then the Pac-12 just signed back on for a 7-game season that will begin for them, I believe, around the first week of November. So it's something. It's we're getting all five conferences back. I think it's good for college football as a whole that everybody will be there. I'm just excited that things are starting to get back to normal a little bit.
How much pride do you think Big Ten at first and now Pac-12 definitely had to swallow to be like, let me watch these other games, these first 2 weeks go by, oh crap, every other school is doing it and no cases have been confirmed? Okay, awesome. Now let me go ahead and admit that we were completely wrong, and now we have to delay the season. Hope to God we can get everything on time to do a normal college football playoff. Like, how much pride?
Tons, but I still think they're so stupid for jumping to conclusions in the beginning. I mean, again, like you just outlined, they're sitting at home on their buns watching everybody else play just fine. And I can just imagine the dollar signs that were floating out of their head, being like, oh my God, how much money are we losing by not playing? So they had to, reel back in their first takes and come up with a new plan. And,
I get everything's evolving, right? Like, we're all understanding things differently. And as more stuff about the virus comes out and more safety measures you could put in, you start changing your protocols accordingly. But for both those conferences to come out and just like from the very get-go, without talking to the rest of the committees of the different conferences and see what their takes were, to be like, you know what, we're out, and then 3 weeks into the season technically, or 4 weeks maybe, come back and you're like, okay guys, we want to come play, now let's start figuring out how we're going to make the college football committee work.
It's silly, and it's going to pose some questions later on down the season when bowl season does start coming into effect. It's like, okay, well, obviously teams are going to have played more games than or conferences are going to have played more games than other conferences. So then the committee already, nobody knows how they make their picks or what they do or what they
everyone already questions how they do it. Right.
Like, is it a valued win, like they say, or is it a
good loss
schedule or a good loss? Yeah, so it's like nobody knows the formula that they use. So this is just going to be another debacle of how they're picking. This team only played, 8 games, but that team played 10 games, and so I don't know what they're going to do.
I think that's going to be a good point, because it's not just like the schedules are delayed, because they could always give teams multiple bye weeks to make sure the schedules end at the exact same time. But when you have teams like in the ACC or SEC play 10 games, but Big Ten is 8, Pac-12 is 7, if you have teams that go undefeated in both of those for 7 or 8 games, but an SEC or ACC team loses game 9 or 10, how does that rank? How could you say, you know what, you guys aren't a top team in the league or whatever it may be,
Right, when it's just one more game that they played where it could have been injuries, it could have been fatigue. Yeah, it's
right. And at the end of it, how are you gonna make the bowl game or whatever playoff game fair when a team could be waiting for 2 months now, waiting for Pac-12 and Big Ten to finish up, and then?
Well, I think they're finishing up around the same time that they normally would. So I know in the Big Ten's case, the Big Ten championship game is the Saturday right before Selection Sunday, which that's the way it is every year. So I don't know if there's going to be so much of a delay in teams, sitting at home waiting. But yeah, it's just, like I said, it's another little wrench into the situation that they're going to have to work their way through and figure out how they make this decision. I don't know. Everybody questions their decision every year anyways, and this is just going to be another thing like, well, how come Oregon got in playing their only schedule but only playing 7 of them? But, I don't know. I'm just glad I'm not on the committee, and I'm just glad I get to sit in the cheap seats and complain about it.
be armchair referees, armchair officials, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess as we're talking about how they're going to do the college football committee and playoffs and God knows whatever they come up with, what are your thoughts on how things are ranked right now? So for anyone unaware, they've taken out Pac-12 and Big Ten teams out of the rankings for obvious reasons because they haven't played a game yet.
Right. However, that's completely fair. I'm happy that they did that because it would have been silly you couldn't have a team in there that hadn't played yet ranked in the top 5. Like, that just wouldn't have made sense. So at least they got that right.
So where do you think, for instance, Ohio State lands? Because Ohio State, before the conference opted out, they were number 2.
Yeah.
But for your point right there, do you put them outside the top 10? Because by the time they play, 4 games have already been played by the SEC and ACC?
That's a good question. I think I do think that they're going to, and I'm gonna do my best to take my bias out of this. I do think that they're going to. I know they're going to take into account where the team was ranked going into preseason, and I think that they're going to use that as their defense. Like, we can justify putting them back in the top 5 because that's where they were. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But it's because that's that they're not playing for another 3 weeks, I believe it is. So that's at that point, the ACC will have played. I think it'll be 5 games, and the SEC will have played 3 or 4 games. So, are they going to be able to look at the way that teams have played in the SEC? Say teams have one loss, but it was a tough game, tough loss.
Like the Alabama A&M game this weekend, like one of those losses.
And then to say a team that hasn't played jumps them because they have a loss, and this team doesn't have a loss, though they haven't played in games. I don't know. I know they're going to do that, though. They're going to do that.
Ohio State, and it's not just Ohio State. It's every top tier, highest selling school.
Oregon, Penn State. They're going to be where
Notre
they
Dame,
were ranked virtually, right?
Yeah, and committees and the coaches poll, they're going to always put them in there. If they were only starting a week behind, I could see them jumping in number 6, right? Ohio State just number 6. Outside the top 5, they haven't played 2 games, but they win 1 game, they're back to top 3, whatever it may be. I don't know how you could possibly do that. And again, it's a double-edged sword. You screw over every team that's played already because they maybe have won 4 games in a row. You have Auburn. I'll focus on SEC because there's teams here who are within the top 5 of each other. So you have Alabama, Florida, Auburn, Georgia, right? Texas A&M is 12. So 5 teams in the top 12 right now. If 4 of those teams go undefeated through 4 weeks, they all had to have played each other already, which means they're going to be great wins. How can you say that Ohio State or anyone in the Pac-12 or the Big Ten as a whole plays 1 game and all of a sudden now jumps ahead of them? Or even at the end of the day, if these teams keep winning, how could you ever put Ohio State being 3 or 4 weeks behind ahead of any of those teams? But then on the other side, it's not Ohio State's fault that the Big Ten canceled. So now you're screwing Ohio State students and players out of potentially, if it all ended up this way, not making it to the playoff because of this BS scheduling.
So it'll be interesting because say if they don't, Big Ten comes back, that first week they don't have them inside the top 25. They're not ranked yet. Then they play 1 game, and then the very next week they're gonna then make the rankings after that. So say Ohio State plays their first game, and I forget who their first game is. Their schedule's all different now.
I'm sorry. I have to set my calendar 7 weeks ahead just to make sure I can see them because they're not playing.
Say they beat Nebraska week 1, and then, but they're unranked. Beat Nebraska week 1. Are they then going to move them right up to number 2 and jump, 23 spots?
I think Ohio State and anyone from the Big Ten, Penn State as well, like these teams are going to be screwed in the long run because I just don't think there's enough. You can't. The people who have won 4 games in a row, you can't screw them over by throwing Ohio State in there for beating Nebraska week 1 in their first game.
Right.
Like, obviously, if teams lose, and all this is moot if everyone loses this weekend and has 2 losses or whatever it may be, but if there are undefeated teams who have played for 4 weeks, ACC, SEC, Big 12, whoever it may be, you can't jump Ohio State. So I think that the fair thing to do would be everyone in the Big Ten's unranked in week 1. Mm-hmm. After they win week 1 or lose, it depends. But after going to week 2, they're outside the top 10.
Just kind of climb up the rankings like an unranked team would.
Yeah, because not like an unranked team would, but more of like we all know how good these guys are. Right? No one's questioning Ohio State should not be a top 4 team preseason, number 2 or 1, arguably. Right? No one can argue that. And Penn State being 8, I think they were before the conferences dropped out. So no one's arguing how good they are. I just think you have to make it now harder and it's punishment to the Big Ten and Pac-12 for doing this because if their teams don't make it that far, they're getting none of that playoff money. So It's a punishment to them, but it still gives these teams the ability to work their way in. Like if Ohio State and Penn State go undefeated in their 8-game season starting outside the top 10, they'll work their way to 1 through 4 easily.
Right.
Or at least one of them will, and then there will be an argument for whoever that 4th pick is. You can't be like, hey, we've played 4 games, you've played 1, you won your first game, go ahead and jump up to number 2. Like that would just set the world of college sports on fire.
Yeah, it will. I don't have enough faith in whether it be the AP or the Coaches Bowl or the NCAA for that matter. They're gonna do it because Ohio State's always been a darling to them, and that's just how it is. They're gonna do it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the week before Ohio State even plays a game that they redo the rankings and honest to God. And that's not even me just being an Ohio State fan. That's just I just think that's how they're gonna do
Friday before college football Saturday, they're like, oh, Ohio State, you're ranked 3rd.
Yeah, they're number 3 team ranked in the country. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm curious to see, but again, I'm glad that I don't have to make those decisions and just get to talk about it and complain about it if I don't like it.
I personally made the mistake of starting off this segment by diving into what I knew the most controversial discussion would be, where we could just rant and ramble for hours on end. I should have started, and which I'm going to tie it back into now. Pac-12, Big Ten aside, there are some great games going on this weekend. But first, what was your shock and awe from last week? There's 2 games we got to focus on from last week.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Obviously, Oklahoma taking a loss. That's a bad loss to Kansas State, especially as the number 3 team in the country at home. I mean, that was bad. And then the other one, LSU losing to Mississippi State. Now, I think Mississippi State's supposed to have a pretty decent season. Granted, they're in a very, very tough division, in a tough conference. But knocking off the defending champs, yes, they don't have the same team as that they did last year when they ran through the SEC, but that had to feel good, especially as road warriors. But I don't know. I mean, Auburn handled their business. Georgia handled their business, albeit they didn't look great. Alabama handled their business. You can't. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are, how many fans are in the stands. You can't lose those games.
It's definitely a big failure for LSU. LSU wasn't great before Joe Burrow got there, right? They were a middle of the pack SEC team, including SEC East and West, so they weren't great.
They had a good team, but they were missing a quarterback. They got the quarterback that made them all world. and
the
then
best
that quarterback's
offense, high scoring. Yeah,
Right.
It shouldn't be shocking to anyone that they took a step back. I think losing to Mississippi State is a bigger step back than they thought. But to me, still, the biggest upset is Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You have Spencer Rattler, who, according to some people, is the best quarterback they've ever seen, even more so than Trevor Lawrence. Everyone thought Trevor Lawrence was the next Peyton Manning, which he still might be. Spencer Rattler is like Patrick Mahomes on steroids. Mm-hmm. And then they're up 28-7 in the second quarter and lose 48-45 or 38-35, if I remember the score correctly. Mm-hmm. As the number 3 school to an unranked Kansas State.
Kansas team.
That sucks for Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, it does. I don't know if you heard the soundbite from switching back to the LSU game from what's his why am I blanking? Is it Bielema, the Mississippi State head coach?
Oh yeah,
or not Bielema. Mike Leach. He said. They said it was something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to mess it up, but they said something along the lines of like, so, what'd you think of having to play LSU right out of the gate? And he was like, well, the Packers, the Seahawks, and the Patriots were already booked this weekend, so we got stuck with LSU. and then he just goes, whoops. It's like, man, that guy gives the best. Mike Leach gives the best post-game pressers. But yeah, I'm definitely. I want to see if this will be a jump start, a leaping board for Mississippi State. But staying in the SEC, Georgia's. I think they're going to be all right. They're working through some growing pains, but Florida showed me a lot.
Yeah, that Florida offense looks good. Not gonna lie,
they really do.
they look good. All I know is that if Georgia was playing Florida this weekend, I'd put my money on Florida because Georgia has growing pains. Their foregone conclusion starter after Jake Fromm, Jamie Noonan opted out of the college football season a week before game 1, so that sucked. And I guess word on the street is that he was going to lose the starting job to Dwan Mathis, who ended up starting, and then he got replaced by our walk-on senior. Like, oh boy. Yeah, I think Florida looked good. I also think that the Auburn-Kentucky game was a good showing for Auburn.
Yep.
I know. I took him all my parlays. Kentucky was 7.5 points. Auburn's defense just swallowed them whole. 3 takeaways. There's some good teams in the SEC East right now, or SEC as a whole, outside of the foregone conclusion Alabama. So
Alabama, yeah. Looking ahead to this week. There's a couple good games. You got Auburn, Georgia, which is that's a juggernaut of a game early in the season. Georgia's at home. I don't really know yet. I don't know if I really saw enough of either team. Auburn looked pretty good. Georgia finished strong. I don't really know. I think if I had to guess, I'd say maybe I'd go Georgia just because they're at home. Maybe they'll start getting the ball rolling a little bit.
Your spread is 6.5. Georgia winning. Would you take Georgia with giving Auburn 6.5?
Yeah, so they're home dogs.
And you'd give Auburn 6.5 points?
Oh, so Georgia's the favorite.
Georgia's favored by 6.5 after their terrible starting.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I might jump on that Auburn side there.
That's what I mean. I never bet on a Georgia game because whatever I bet, the opposite happens. And obviously, I would normally maybe I should because normally I always bet Georgia wins. Maybe I should bet Auburn wins with +6 and plus 6.5, and Georgia will get it. I don't know. I think if Georgia starts Dwayne Mathis, then it's going to be a whole long game. Especially going up against a defense that just caused 3 turnovers.
Yep.
I don't know. I'd probably take Auburn. That's a safe bet. I do think the bet to watch or game to watch is that A&M Alabama game. Because I believe that's 16.5 points right now. If I saw that correctly.
That's a big spread. I'm trying to see. Do you know what the over/under is on that game?
51.5.
51. I'd probably take the over on that bad boy.
I would probably take
seems like a light over.
Yeah, it's not high. I would, for a 16.5 spread, you're looking at basically either, let's say, 27-10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems light. I would take Texas A&M with the points probably. This feels like 16.5 for a 2 versus 12 is a lot of points.
It's a lot of points. That's a lot of points to just give away like that. So I think it'll be. I'm excited that we still got it. Like I agree with you. College football definitely felt like it was back. And then it's like there's a couple more treats out there that we're gonna get in just a couple weeks. A couple more treats keep coming. But with that, let's switch over to the big boys. NFL Week 3. We had a couple different things. We had a couple great games. We had a couple stupid games. First thing to note, there was a tie. What do you think about that? Like kissing your sister.
And it's not just kissing your sister. It's like kissing the sister that you knew you had, but your family locked away in the basement because you didn't like her. Like if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you have Carson Wentz, who you signed to a 4-year, $110 million contract. The guy didn't even win a Super Bowl for you because Nick Foles did that because he got injured. You're now playing a Cincinnati Bengals team that, yes, Joe Burrow is really starting to show that he could be a franchise quarterback moving forward. You tie them. Of all teams, of all ties, it's the Eagles who have a diehard fan base and Carson Wentz and this great, it's like historic franchise. That game. Yeah, it was already 0-2, and you're playing a Bengals team that finished dead last year, and all they got's Joe Burrow. Now all of a sudden, you guys can't score more than 23 points. Yeah, I can't even talk about it. It's just like that's just bad.
That's rough.
It's a bad tie.
That is a bad tie.
And a tie in professional football is mind blowing. You're telling me both offenses couldn't get to the 40-yard line, kick a field goal?
Yeah. Well, not to mention, in overtime, Doug Peterson, the coach of the Eagles, elected to punt instead of kicking what would have, I think, have been like a 61-yarder, 62-yarder. Instead of trying that, he just punted the ball away, basically saying, well, we can't win it, we're not going to lose it. Yeah, I was like, what are you doing, man? I mean, I don't know if that's a smart play or not. It's not a smart play. I don't care whether you didn't lose the game technically, but you sure as hell didn't win it either. And basically, what you're telling your guys is, we're just gonna chalk this one up and see you next week.
Here's why I'm gonna disagree with you. I think it was a smart play, only because the Giants are 0-3. Eagles would have been 0-3 if they missed that and lost the game. But then you also have the Cowboys, who are 1-2. The NFC East team is the worst conference in football right now.
Oh, so not a team is over 500.
If you're Doug Peterson, you're looking at this game like, okay, my kicker has never made anything above 58. I have a 63-yarder, and if I miss it with 20 or 30 seconds left, then they have one first down, gets them in field goal range. We go to 0-3, and we tie the Giants. Let me punt this, take the tie, because ties still finish ahead of losses.
Such a loser way to think about things.
I wouldn't do it. I would have kicked the field goal, go for the fucking win, and call it a day.
Serious.
But if you're looking at the numbers and what it takes to get a playoff spot, if Dallas loses next week and Eagles win next week, and it's 1-3 versus 1-2-1, 1-2-1's ahead of 1-3.
It is, but that's just so. I just hate ties in football. I hate them.
I don't understand. I am completely with you on it.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I'm just from a math equation standpoint, smart move.
A couple other notable games. Titans barely squeaked out the Vikings. The Lions beat the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals were streaking. Everybody was jumping on the Kyler Murray train. He had a terrible game, and the Lions finally get their first win. The Buccaneers beat the Broncos. It looks like they're starting to roll. I don't know any teams that you feel are really making the jump, the big leap. We had a good Monday night game last night. You think the Chiefs are the team?
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm going to go through a couple here quickly and just give my takes because I have a couple things to say on each one. The Chiefs, we always do from the very beginning, the AFC is going through Kansas City. They had one rough game against the Chargers, but for the most part, they're dominating. It's not even close. The fact that Lamar Jackson is like 22-1 against every other team, but is 0-3 against the Chiefs, that just shows
97 yards passing.
The most prolific offense is the Baltimore Ravens, and they can't beat the Chiefs. So Chiefs, AFC goes to them. Packers look so freaking good. I think them drafting Jordan Love is just like lighting a fire under Aaron Rodgers' ass. So as a fellow NFC North team, I'm scared of that.
You should be.
But most importantly, and I leave this for last, is Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I made a bet with a friend of ours, and I will leave him nameless in case he listens and people call him out for it. But it's a $200 bet that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will finish ahead of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, both these teams are in the NFC South. There's the Saints and Panthers in it, so kind of pretty hard division. We all agree that this was going to be one to watch. Falcons, our Dirty Birds, blew another lead, so they are 0-3. So I am ecstatic that now Tampa Bay is 2-1. Basically, all but sealing the fate of the Falcons right now, unless something changes for them, because they don't look good enough to win any game, especially being up again 20 points in with 6 minutes left in the game.
Did you hear this stat? It was in the last 20 years. There hasn't been in the last 20 seasons, no team has blown multiple 15-point fourth quarter leads in a single season. And the Falcons did it in back-to-back weeks.
There was a meme.
How does anybody in that coaching staff still have a job? I don't know. They got to give them one more week. Or maybe they're waiting to see I don't know what their bye week is, but maybe they're waiting to get to the bye week and then do it in an off week or something.
I don't think you can.
Holy smokes.
If you wait till the bye week, you're punting this season. And Dan Quinn needs to be fired, has to be fired. Not just because they can't seem to win a freaking game that they're winning by an exorbitant amount, but because their defense also ends up giving up the most touchdowns, the most points, the most yards, the most everything in these 5 years that we've had them, right? Like, the greatest collapse of all is the 28-3 against the Patriots, where all the Falcons had to do, even though they gave up that lead, they blew it, was run the ball twice and kick a field goal with the most accurate kicker in the NFL that year, which was Matt Bryant. They walk away with a Super Bowl. Instead, they try to do a play-action bootleg with the slowest quarterback in the NFL outside of Tom Brady. He gets sacked for a 12-yard loss. That's a failure in of itself. You would think you learned it, and then now you can't hold on to a lead against the Cowboys, and then the Bears, who had to bench their starting quarterback because they could not score.
Pulled in Big Dick Nick, baby.
And, hey, ride or die, Big Dick Nick.
That's right. The Falcons' bye week isn't until week 10.
Yeah, they had to fire him out.
Ain't no way they're waiting that long. Ain't no way they're waiting that long.
If you're Arthur Blank, it should have been you woke up Tuesday morning after watching last night's game, today, at 8 a.m., and you should not even given the decency of a phone call. You send the entire coaching staff a text, and you're like, get the F out of my facility.
No, you have your friend send them a text. You don't even need to send it one.
No, you just hire someone without even telling them they're fired. You hire a new head coach without telling them they're fired.
Change the locks in the facility without even telling them. Oh,
I feel bad.
I feel bad for the Falcons fans because they deserve better. They deserve better than this. Not only did they get ridiculed
I honestly feel bad for Matt Ryan.
28-3. I do too. He's getting his prime wasted away on shitty coaching decisions.
Shitty play calls, shitty coaching.
Bad. He's not even playing bad.
I mean, he had a bad interception.
But but you can overcome that.
You shouldn't be in that position.
Overcome that.
You're up 26-10 with 6 minutes left. You shouldn't be in the position where you have to try to make something happen and you throw off your back foot with pressure in your face and that's picked off.
Agreed.
It shouldn't be in that. Instead, they're passing the ball every down.
With as much offensive power as they have, they just you can't blow leads like that, and it's like fool me once, shame on me fool me twice, shame on you. And it's like, that's exactly what that team is they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. And boy,
they go out and they sign Todd Gurley because they want him to be kind of that heavy down goal line back. Mm-hmm. So at 6 minutes and 30 seconds left, the Falcons had the ball. They could have run the ball 3 times. It would have taken off 2.5 minutes off the clock. So now you're down to 4 minutes, 3:45, whatever it may be. Yep. Then you punt away, Bears score. Great, you get the ball back. Run the ball 3 more times, Bears blow their timeouts. Now they're down to 2 minutes and still have to score 2 more times. Like, they just didn't do it. They kept running pass plays. They kept doing all this and just really screwed themselves up.
It's becoming a thing. It's becoming you Falcons did. That's what it's.
I was watching the game with my brother, and I was angry because the Bears were losing, and he was like, "Why do you care? You know the Falcons are going to blow this." Instead of from like the second quarter on, before we even pulled Mitch Trubisky, before the Falcons were up 26-10, he just kept saying it, and sure enough, we win 30-26, right. And I was like, I will never admit that, not even on live podcast, video, television, anything like that.
Let's recap our picks. So we are doing throughout the year. We're going to keep our picks against the spread. We're going to go each team. We're going to give our picks. We did it last week. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, so nobody heard it, but we kept our record. Our records from last week, David was 8-7, and I was 10-5. Thank you very much. We are going to keep these records throughout the year.
I feel like my 8-7, it reflects my betting. That's why I lose money.
I know. I'm like, why didn't I bet on my 10-5? I should have actually bet every one of those.
I refuse to do parlays. Continue. Go ahead.
So we are 8-7, or 8-7. David is 10-5. I am. Let's jump through this week's schedules. Oh, one more thing to note. Actually, you know what? Let's hold it. Let's tease a little bit. Let's take a quick break. And then we'll come back and we'll give our picks. Mainly because I got to go to the bathroom.
I love that. All right, take a quick break. Goodbye.
All right, back. I feel relieved. You feel good?
I feel good. I feel revived for my picks. I'm going to go better than 8-7.
Okay, well, let's see. All right, we will start it off. Denver Broncos at New York Jets. Jets are plus
Broncos,
3.
Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going Broncos too. All right. You got the Indianapolis Colts at your Chicago Bears. Indianapolis Colts are giving 2.5 points.
I'm going to take the Bears. Okay. Especially with points. With 2.5 points, yeah, I'll take that.
All right. I'm going to go Indy. There's a little discrepancy there already out of the gate. I like it. All right. We got New Orleans Saints at Detroit Lions. The Saints are given 4 points.
This feels like a trap game. So bad. Saints still look good, but they don't look like the normal Saints who are dominating everyone. Yep. So, 4 points. I think I have to go with Drew Brees. I can't say no to that. I got to do it.
Agreed. I'm going to go to New Orleans.
But mark it as trap game, so if this counts as a loss, I don't care.
I'll write trap just so you feel happy about it. Arizona Cardinals at Carolina Panthers. Arizona Cardinals are giving 3.5.
Cardinals.
I'm going to go Carolina.
Okay, fine. Jeez. All right, so your boy JB Joe Burrow versus Gardner Minshew and the Jaguars, who I keep losing money on. And Bengals are favored by 3 points.
I think the Bengals are going to get a dub here. I'm going to go Cincinnati.
I will ride and die by losing money on the Jaguars, so I will bet the Jaguars.
Okay. Hey, live and die in that hill, bud.
The one time I don't bet them, they're going to prove me wrong, so I got to keep consistent. It's like 16 in blackjack. You got to hit it.
You got to hit it. The Browns at the Cowboys. Cowboys are given 4.5. Cowboys, who I think are a better team than their record shows, though their defense is doo-doo.
I think they are definitely not good enough to win anything important this year, but excuse me. Wine went down the wrong throat. I'm going the Cowboys over the Browns.
Throat or the wrong? How many throats do you have?
Well, when you drink like I do, you need multiple.
All right, are you going Cowboys or Browns?
Cowboys before I cough again. Jesus.
All right, there we go. Get it out. Minnesota Vikings at Houston Texans. Texans are given 3.5 points.
Wait, back that up. Who are you picking, Cowboys or Browns?
Oh, Cowboys.
Oh, okay. Jesus. No wonder your record's better. Oh, I'm going to avoid that game.
All right, Vikings at Texans. Texans given 3.5.
3.5.
Texans. 3 Texans. Yeah. I
Texans.
think they're going to get their first win, too.
Minnesota's on 3
Seattle
as well.
Seahawks at Miami Dolphins. Seahawks are given 6.5.
Am I able to double down on the Seahawks?
And do what?
I don't know, just take away
win
the
for
previous
2?
loss. Yeah, because I take their win over any other game I've lost. Because I think they're going to crush the Dolphins.
I think so too. I'm taking Seahawks also. All right, you got the Chargers at the Buccaneers.
Bucks. Ooh, 7.5 is a good number though.
Bucks
But
given
Bucks.
7.5. That's a big number. But I don't think the Chargers are good enough, so I will also say TB.
I want to make sure when you ranked our records last week, you did it with the spread, right? Not just
Of course.
who won.
What do you think
I'm
I am,
making
new?
sure. I don't know, 8-7 and 10-5. It's a big freaking difference
I am a man
here.
of
So
integrity, and if you must know, I kept the pick sheet, and I will share it with you just so you know.
all right, when everyone tunes in, the end of this YouTube video, make sure we show those pick sheets, and no one thinks you're cheating me.
All right. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Tennessee Titans. According to this sheet, Steelers are only giving 1 point. Now, there could be a caveat to this game because
I'll touch on that in a second. Yeah.
But we'll see when or where this game is played at a later date. But currently, and we will stick to what it is currently, Steelers are giving 1 point.
I think Tennessee could cover a point.
Okay.
I like Tennessee.
I am going with Pittsburgh.
Oh, why? Do you have a $100 bet on them or something?
I just think they're a better team. Simple as that. I'm not. I'm strictly unbiased in all of my talks.
Yeah, of course.
All right, New York Giants at Los Angeles Rams. 13
Rams.
Rams by 2 TDs, huh?
It could be the Rams by 17 points, and I would take the Rams over the Giants. They lost 36 to 7 this weekend.
Big spread, but yeah, I'm taking the Rams too because
36 to 9 against the Niners, and they didn't have
the Giants are
Garoppolo.
hot garbage. The Buffalo Bills of the Las Vegas Raiders. Bills are given 3 points.
I've done well with the Raiders and betting on them recently, but I think the Bills are pretty freaking good, so I'm going to go Bills even though they have to give up 3 points.
I want to go Bills, but for the sake of discrepancy, I'm going to go with the Raiders just because I think they may have a bounce back game. Though I do think that the Bills are very, very good. Let the record show. I just want the record to show that I think that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll write it down in the official rulebook and official record.
Does the record reflect that, please? Okay.
It does, yes.
The Philadelphia Eagles at San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are given 6.5.
I think there's a chance Garoppolo comes back, which makes them better, so I'm going to go Niners.
I, too, am going Niners. You've got the Baltimore Ratbirds against the Washington football team. Ratbirds
you had to pause just to make sure you sounded so cool calling them the Ratbirds. You had to pause to make sure you said it right. That's how lame you
just
are.
rolls off the tongue. I literally haven't called them by their real name probably since I was like 11. Okay, so they're the Baltimore Ratbirds.
The Ratbirds are going to win by more than 13.
The Ratbirds by 13.5. That's a big time number, and they just had a bad night offensively. Though the Washington football team, they're terrible. I too am going Baltimore. And then we have the Patriots.
I can't root for the football team if they score 20 points against the Cleveland Browns and lose by 14. I think
that's pretty bad.
The Ratbirds are better.
Yeah, I think so too. We have a juicy one here with the Patriots and the Chiefs. Chiefs are at home. They're giving 7 points.
Yeah, Chiefs.
Oof, that's a big number 2. Patriots, I think Patriots are a good team. I think that they're obviously well coached, no disputing that. I don't know if they're the same team week to week. And for that, I too will go Kansas City.
I definitely think they're building. They're building on it. You feel like they're building.
I think the Patriots are going to be there in the end. I totally think so because again, Belichick knows how to get his team prepared, get them peaking at the right time. I think that they're still just kind of maybe learning a couple things with Cam Newton as the leader.
Yeah, they scored 36 points last week, so obviously things are kind of clicking.
You know what? I'm changing that pick. I'm going New England.
I'm thinking about hey, Kansas City's averaged 31 points a game so far this season. New England scored 36 last week, so it'd be a shootout. Then is it a touchdown shootout or a 10-point shootout? Ugh.
So I'm going New England. You're going Kansas City. Kansas City again is giving 7. And then to wrap up the week, we've got the Atlanta Falcons and Green Bay Packers. Packers are only giving 7.5 points.
I'm going into this hoping the Falcons fire Dan Quinn and they try to beat the Packers, but I would still take the Packers at 7.5 points. God, Falcons are so bad.
That's a big number, though. That's the thing, though. Do you not feel that there's are the Falcons as bad as their record shows and as the bad of losses as they had? Do you think?
I don't know. Like week 1 against the Seahawks, they couldn't score until garbage time, so that didn't really matter. But against the Cowboys, against the Bears, they put up winning numbers.
They play. They're the best three. You could arguably say that they're the best 3-quarter team in the league.
They're the best 0-3 team in NFL history. Like they are. Like they played a Seahawks team week 1 that's really good. So they lost. Who cares? They beat the Cowboys. If it wasn't for the Falcons dropping their fucking balls on the onside kick, and then if they just had a better offensive play call against the Bears, they would have won that game. So like. I just think it'd be a shootout. I think the Packers have more offensive firepower than the Falcons do. And given the fact that the Falcons blow every single lead, I think Packers would win this one.
With 7.5 points. I'm wavering. But I, too, am going to go with Aaron Rodgers because I think he's on a mission. All right. So there's our NFL picks. We will check and see. Again, I am sitting at 10-5. David is sitting at 8-7. Now, that doesn't, obviously the math doesn't add up there to the total amount of games played, but when there is a tie on the field, that is considered a push, so that is how we will play that. All right.
Of course,
David.
Of course. All right, I'm done with you.
It's on the internet. It's on the internet. It's got to be true.
Pass the sticks. I'm taking control. We've reached the end of the podcast today, guys. Let's end it right with our third string things. This is where Jake and I go through 3 things in sports, life, outer space, whatever the hell it may be. Just 3 things that stuck with us this past week and want to bring it up again. So, Jake, go ahead. Third string things, TST, you lead it off.
All right. First off, got to give congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They won Lord Stanley's Cup last night in 6 games against the Dallas Stars. I called this from the beginning. I said they were the best team in the East. I think we both kind of said that too. And they did. They just showed it. They played well. They played tough. They hoist the cup. Congrats to them.
Without Stamkos even playing after game 1.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, he still gets his name on that beautiful, beautiful trophy. Mm-hmm. Best trophy in sports.
Bar none.
I think, and then my second thing. So I don't know if you heard this little story. This was kind of fun. A bettor last night for the Monday Night Football game between the Chiefs and the Ravens put a $1,000 bet that Pat Mahomes would be the first to score. Now that's interesting because this would have had to be him rushing a touchdown, in which he did so. Net him $36K. Not a bad day at the office.
That was like the guy when the Broncos played the Seahawks, and it was Peyton Manning, and he bet $1,000 the first points to the game would be a safety.
What
he won
safety.
like $1.5 million. Yeah. Like that's just
you know
good
what that
for
is?
You, dude.
You know what that is? That's a bet that we couldn't make. He probably put that $1,000 bet on like 7 different guys doing it, and that one just happened to hit. So he's got. You know,
right? What's $1,000 when you're playing with $100K or $1 million?
Right.
You know? It's just
he's
like,
got
all right, cool.
money. He's got FU money, so he's able to make that bet. Good for him.
But good for him. He got it, yeah.
My third and last thing is last Sunday, as we heard a million times in the broadcast, but only the second time since 1927, three brothers played in the same NFL game at the time. That would be JJ, TJ, and Derek Watt. Pretty cool. If you're their parents, you got to be like, hell yeah, we hit the jackpot for having kids.
Yeah, I have no comment. That's just awesome. you just built a dynasty. It's like all those families are like, oh, I want 5 kids because I want to have a starting lineup in basketball. They literally have 3 kids playing professional football at the same exact time. Yep. So that's pretty awesome.
Awesome. All right, Dave, what's your TST?
All right, so we kind of touched on it just before we're talking about the schedules and the games that we were picking. Tennessee Titans and the Vikings are the first teams, and I say with teams because there's a player on the Falcons who tested positive for COVID, but Titans and Vikings are the first teams to experience multiple cases of COVID. They shut down in-person practices and training, and the NFL still intends on them to play their games this upcoming Sunday after they go through a thorough trace methodology to find out who could also be contaminated. So, first time in football, we brought it up, thought about how they're going to handle it. And it sounds like they're trying to move forward like it didn't even happen.
Yeah, we hope that it doesn't hold things up. I've heard there's been talks of maybe moving the Steelers-Titans game to Monday night just to give them a little extra time. Hopefully it's not going to throw too big of a hitch into the season.
Yeah, I would assume once they get everyone else's results back, they're going to delay it, cancel it, or move on. So we'll probably find something else out by tomorrow. Second thing for me, Andre Iguodala. There's a couple of records, a couple of streaks going on right now in the NBA Finals. LeBron has made it to 10 finals of the past 13. Andre Iguodala has one going as well. He has 6 straight finals, and he is on the Miami Heat. Thought it was pretty cool that not only did he really win championships and develop and become that finals MVP with the Warriors and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, went through an entire process of getting bought out by the Grizzlies, joined the Heat, and now is back in the finals again as a key contributor. So cool to him. Kudos to Andre Iguodala.
Definitely.
Lastly, and by no means do I care for this podcast to ever cross the spectrum into politics, but you can bet on anything in this damn world. So, Jake, my question, we got debate tonight. Don't know how you're going to tell winner or loser. Are you going to try to bet on the debate? 'Cause I know you could probably do it somewhere on some platform.
You probably can. And I've seen you can bet on things such as who says which word first, how many times Trump fake yawns, how many times Biden loses his train of thought. You can bet on anything. It's going to be, it might as well be a reality television show. We're going to watch anyways, but man, it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful.
And this will be the best representation of America, so woo, way to go, country, world. Alrighty, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in again today. We'll be back next week. You can follow us in the meantime for Jake at JWall888, for me at David_DeLeggi. Again, like always, please check out BigSportsGuy.com. That's where Jake and I get all of our bets, our spreads, and game data. They analyze the bets, easy to track it. Jake, want to say anything before we head off here?
No, man, let's go watch some sports. Oh, real quick. Currently, as we're recording this, the score to the Yankees-Indians game is Yankees 2, Indians 0. As you said earlier, it could take one big hit that could alter that game between those big stud pitchers, and Aaron Judge hit a 2-run homer. So, wonder what that'll mean for the rest of the series. Let's go watch some sports.
Love that ending, and with that, deuces, we out. Appreciate it. Bye, guys.